Hello again, Year 3. This is your guided reading session for today. So no English, this is guided reading instead. And we're going to be thinking about the book that you've read previously and we studied, which was The War and Freddie. Just a nice short session today. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Here it comes. Okay, so if you've got your book, you'd like to write the date and the what. And oh, just seeing what's wrong on here. It's not Thursday, is it? Today is Friday, the 9th of July. There we go. Sorry about that. So the Thewalt is to draw simple inferences about characters' feelings. Okay, in the last lesson, we were thinking about Freddie and his mum. Do you remember what the mum did? Do you remember the situation that had happened? Okay, so it was the part of the book where Freddie, he was a little boy, he was playing outside in the garden, having a wonderful time, and over the top of him came two aeroplanes, and they were fighting each other. One was a British plane and one was a German plane. Can you remember what they were called? Because Freddie was getting very excited and shouting out their names. And he was watching them and having a wonderful time in the garden until something happened. Okay, and Mum comes storming out of the house. And can you remember what she did? We had a good discussion in Cricklade class about how the mum reacted. Okay, so the mum reacted quite strongly, didn't she? She slapped Freddie's legs, she dragged him inside, threw him down on a chair, and then she was the one who started crying. But we talked about why she behaved in that way, what had happened, why did she do that? And we were able to make lots of inferences about how the characters, especially the mum, was feeling at that point in the story. It wasn't written down. We know how she behaved. That was in the text. That was our stated information. And the rest we worked out for ourselves. So that is the inference. We had lots of really good ideas about that. Okay, today we're going to be thinking about Freddie a little bit further on in the story. Okay, so let's move on. So in The War and Freddie, let's just have a little bit of a recap. I've just told you what happened just previously in last lesson. So have a think about the whole story now. Okay, can you summarize? That's a really important word. If you were to tell somebody else about this book, maybe somebody who's with you at the moment, what would you be able to tell them about the story? Who's it about? Who's in the story? What's the theme of the book? What sort of things happen in Freddie's life? Okay, maybe just pause for a moment while you see if you can pick out some of the main facts, the main events of the story. Okay, so what was the story about? The title we know was The War and Freddie, and it was really about his very young childhood that he experienced during the war. Was he evacuated? No, he wasn't. He already lived in the country and he was able to go and visit his grandparents quite a lot as well, wasn't he? But this whole story, this whole book was about his experiences as a young child. So it was the theme of how he saw the war, and it told us about his early childhood, learning to read. Do you remember those funny pages? And then the story as it developed as he got older and he began to understand a little bit more and more about the war. Okay, we're going to just pick on one tiny little section of the story today where Freddie was in bed at night and he was thinking about his daddy. Where was his dad? Can you remember? Yeah, so like a lot of the men during the war, he had to go off to fight for his country. So here's a little bit of text, just 4 lines that we're going to be looking at today. That night, Freddie dreamed again of Daddy in the hot desert place. He saw his face burnt red by the sun, sweaty and tired. He saw yellow sand and heard guns and aeroplanes. He felt the heat so much it made him choke. Then he woke up. So just that very short little bit today. So the character that we're really thinking about is Freddie and how he is feeling at this point in the story. So which words stand out in this part of the text? So on your daily planner, you've got a copy of this little bit and send some of the activities for you to do underneath. So you can highlight the text, maybe circle some words that really stand out to you. So that night, Freddie dreamed again of Daddy. So we know it's late at night. We know he should really be in bed asleep, but he's dreaming. And this isn't really going to be a very nice dream, is it? So he dreamed of Daddy in the hot desert place. Does he know exactly where his dad is? He knows he's fighting in the war. He knows it's somewhere hot. So the hot desert place. But this kind of word here makes me think he doesn't know exactly where he is. He saw his face burnt red by the sun, sweaty and tired. So which words in that sentence there really stand out to you? He saw yellow sand and heard guns and aeroplanes. And then this last line, he felt the heat so much it made him choke. Then he woke up. Okay, so this isn't the daddy, it isn't his dad choking. This is Freddie in his dream. It's affected him so much. He's feeling that heat so much, just like his dad would, that it's made him wake up. There's a really good word to describe that, which is empathy. So he's having the same feelings that his dad would be having in the desert. So some really, again, nice, strong words, lots of imagery in this part of the text. So what can we learn from this? Freddie's dreaming of his dad. Where his dad is, he would definitely be under the hot sun of the desert, so probably getting sunburnt, getting very sweaty and hot and tired. Yellow sand with the guns and aeroplanes overhead. He felt the heat so much, that's Freddie felt the heat so much it made him choke. Then he woke up. Okay, so have a look at that text. Highlight or underline the words that really give you an image of what it was like. So especially things like hot and desert. And then if you want to have a look at the go deep and go deeper today, what do you think the author means when he says he felt the heat? That's Freddie feeling the heat. And then finally, maybe you could describe how would you feel if you were Freddie? Okay, so just a short activity today. Have a look at some of those words. What effect do they have? You can circle them, highlight them, maybe write a couple of sentences. What did the author mean when he says he felt the heat? And then how would you feel if you were Freddie? So just a few sentences today. And then if we were in class, you'd probably get a friend to mark this for you. So when you finish doing that, maybe have a look. What would you give yourself for those sentences? What do you think you've done really well? Maybe give yourself a star for something you've done really well. And could you give yourself a next step as well? What maybe do you think you could have explained better or described better? Okay, and that's it for your guided reading today. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.